Your Philadelphia Mint 2020 American Eagle Silver Dollar coins before they sell out. That's 1-800-514-6468.
8:07, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and Jim.
We have a couple of west suburban collisions to report this morning. There's one in Lombard on St. Charles at 53. There's a crash in Oak Brook Terrace, Butterfield at MacArthur. On the inbound Eisenhower, traffic is slow from 25th Avenue to 1st Avenue. It's 29 minutes, 390 to downtown. Outbound 28. Inbound Kennedy, delays start at Division. 23 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 20. Inbound Stevenson, traffic's tight approaching the Ryan. Inbound Ryan, from 95th to downtown, it's 18 minutes. Outbound 17. Traffic slow 35th for Pershing after a crash. And there's a new collision reported on the outbound Ryan in the express lanes right around 63rd Street. This Friday, that's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Jim, thank you. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our AM 560 Weather Center. Our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Intervals of clouds and sun. Nice day. High today at 81. Patchy clouds tonight, low 66. Partly sunny for tomorrow, the high near 83. A shower or thunderstorm on Sunday, the high near 82. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Now 71 at O'Hare. Your next news update at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Mayor triple threat, a know-nothing or a liar. I don't know, you decide, but her Chicago is the victim of outside forces and bears no responsibility for being Murder City, USA. It just doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Sorry, Mayor Lightfoot. And it is worth noting how now the left is applying the victimology argument to anthropomorphize cities. Lori Lightfoot recently.
The fact of the matter is, our gun problem is related to the fact that we have too many illegal guns on our street, 60% of which come from states outside of Illinois. We are being inundated with guns from states that have virtually no gun control, no background checks, no ban on assault weapons. That is hurting cities like Chicago.
Yeah, she kept saying the guns are coming from Mississippi, from Indiana, from Michigan.
For more on this mythology, we're pleased to be joined by David Harsanyi, senior writer for National Review, author of First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today. Not today in Chicago, sir. David Harsanyi, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
So there you go. Chicago is a victim of circumstance, not the victim of policies that are advanced by the politicians here, David.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. I mean, what she said is it's just a lie, actually. I mean, the notion that the other states have virtually no gun control and no background checks is a lie. Every state has background checks. 99 or somewhere around there percent of gun purchases go through a background check, and that's just a myth. So that's first of all. Secondly, the assault weapon ban that she mentions has virtually nothing to do with murders in Chicago. I forget what the percentage is, but it's like 3% of criminality overall has to do with so-called assault weapons, which are not very functional in criminal enterprises since they're too big. Unfortunately, a lot of mass shooters like them, but for the vast majority of those guns, the most popular rifles in America are not used for any kind of criminal intent. So that's just for starters.
So if you go across state lines to buy a weapon, you do get fingerprinted. I mean, what's the procedure? Does it depend on the state that you're in?
No, not really. I mean, if you're from Chicago and you go to Indiana and buy a gun, you have to go through a background check. Let me get to that in a second. So you go through a background check, and then depending where your address is, it runs through the state's background check system, to a federal FBI database from wherever you live. So it can take I think there's a 3-day limit, and it's bought the same way almost everywhere. there are straw purchases where people buy guns for criminals, and that's illegal. And that happens in Chicago quite often. From studies show that I think there were like 7 gun shops that most guns came from in Illinois, but they're bought the same way elsewhere. I mean, I think the problem is that there's a huge demand for guns in Chicago, so people who illegally get them have to spread out their enterprise to Indiana, Mississippi, and other states. But that's a different reasoning.
And the incidents of violent crime, specifically murder in Chicago, as compared to, the wild and willy states that have no concern for the rule of law or people's safety, like Texas. How does Chicago fare, a responsible city, a progressive, forward-looking city, how does Chicago fare, say, against Houston, which is about the same size and about the same demographics?
Right. So if it were true that gun control is the problem, then Texas, which has in her phrasing virtually no gun control, Houston and Dallas, I think they have around half the murder rate as Chicago right now this year. Other years it's even Dallas and Houston do even better. But other big cities, El Paso or wherever, they have low criminality. But you see that in cities even nearby. I mean, even Indianapolis, for instance, has a far lower murder rate than Chicago. So it doesn't really make sense.
And perhaps this is explained by police killing people in Chicago. That's the difference. Oh, wait, that doesn't hold up either. So what is it that residents should understand when politicians like Lightfoot or even a de Blasio make these arguments? What should they be looking at? How do you respond to that in addition to the data in terms of in terms of the data that debunks what she's saying, in terms of what's fundamental here, where the focus should be?
Well, the problem, obviously, there are many problems in places like Chicago. I mean, it's a poverty problem. The criminality comes from drugs, etc. But in Chicago and in Washington, where I am, a person who actually wants to defend themselves with a gun can't get one. Only criminals can get one. She admits it in what she's saying. What she's saying is that illegal guns are easy to get, and yet a person who wants to defend their home and property it's incredibly difficult for them to have a weapon. Chicago, I just want to say, I guess I'm not an expert on Chicago, but there are like 2 big gun stores that I think 11% of all guns came from. And yet, as far as I can tell, she has never, or the police have never gone after the straw purchasers. I mean, you have to enforce the laws that exist. There are many of them. There are thousands of them. And you can enforce those laws to try to stop people from illegally getting guns instead of constantly heaping on more laws that make it harder for law-abiding citizens to get them.
Oh, no, go.
I suppose it's also difficult to get the word out when you're shut down on social media. When you try to have a symposium, for example, on the nature of crime and race and policing in America, like Heather McDonald tried to do with the American Experiment. Our friend John Hindrake over at Powerline blog and American Experiment put this program together with Heather McDonald, the author of War on Cops and other books, and YouTube shut it down.
What?
And then when they reposted it after protestation, they told the American Experiment that the video had been age restricted. Hindraker writing, I have no idea what could be in Heather's presentation that is more unsuitable for consumption by teenagers than most of YouTube's content. Maybe we'll contest this at some point, but for now we may as well celebrate this minor victory of getting the video reposted. And this, of course, dovetails with some of the big tech CEOs being before the Congress this week.
It is crazy. I didn't even know that happened. But it's just crazy that if someone mentions on Twitter hydroxychloroquine or some drug that they believe might do better with coronavirus or whatever, they shut them down immediately. And this happens across, of course, all kinds of different issues. And I'm not a big big tech guy, to be honest, because I think it's better to have more than less. But I just think they're creating a situation where they're going to force the hand of many politicians to have to act in ways that I think will harm free speech in the long run. But understandably, because you can't have open debate anymore. It's really just bad for democracy, as they like to say. And I just don't get it.
Well, some doctors are. I mean, patients are using hydroxychloroquine with a Z-Pack, and then if they needed a nebulizer. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
what really makes me mad about that, sorry to interrupt, is that they talk about hydroxychloroquine as if it's cyanide. Like if someone's millions of, I have family members that take it every single day, and they are scaring people from taking it. It's very safe drug, and it's needed by lots of people, and they're making it sound like poison on CNN and elsewhere. It's really irresponsible.
Well, consistent with making COVID-19 infection sound like a death sentence when when it just clearly is not. Obviously, that there have been 150,000 Americans who've died, and that's a serious matter. But that doesn't mean that you should tell everybody. Well, it just doesn't mean that you should feed misinformation for the purpose of fear mongering, which is exactly what you're describing. Across all of these sectors.
Absolutely. I mean, you give it the appropriate context. It's serious, but it's not a death sentence. And I've spoken to kids or kids going off to college who feel like if they get it, they're going to die. I mean, it's just crazy.
He is David Harsanyi, senior writer for National Review, author of First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun, From the Revolution to Today. David, thanks for joining us.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
We're all aware of national dealers that sell gold and silver. But national dealers? It sounds so impersonal and far away. Guess what? Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is a national dealer, and they're right here in our backyard. With Fox Valley Coins close by, you won't have to relinquish your personal information and money through the mail and hope that you receive what you ordered in the next days, weeks, or months. Most of the time at Fox Valley Coins, you just walk in the store, pick out what you want, pay for it, and walk out the door. It can be that easy. And if you're interested in selling your rare collector coins or currency, Fox Valley Coins specialize in the rare ones. Buying and selling individual coins and currency, as well as all gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rhodium in coin, bar, and scrap form. They'll even make house calls when appropriate. Fox Valley Coins is one light north of I-88 on Route 59 in Naperville. They're closed on Sundays and have been dealing with integrity since 1981. Check out foxvalleycoins.com. That's foxvalleycoins.com.
With many of us still working from home, Turnkey IT provides you the